Ayman Khan here for Seconds Out with Adam Morallee as we prepare for Joe Joyce versus Zhang. Adam, I'm going to start with a lot of interesting things said in the press conference. Most interesting thing from yourself was a little bit of a veiled jab about fighters maybe taking their time for fights towards the end of the year. Maybe something to do with Anthony Joshua's current position. Just want to maybe have you elaborate on that first of all.
Yeah, look, I think the point I was trying to make was that Joe Joyce is, people call themselves throwback fighters, whatever. This guy, whoever we put in front of him, he takes them on. Unlike many, many fighters I've dealt with in the past, Joe's like, who am I fighting? You're fighting this guy. Done. And I think that's peculiar. It's not what's happening in the heavyweight division right now. What I heard about what's happening in Saudi, with Saudi telling 4 people, we'll all have you on a card in December. I think it's like, I don't know if it's true, but B, if it is true, I don't think 4 people on one card would ever happen. So at least one of those fights wouldn't happen. And that's like, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's good for boxing, trying to say to people, hey, just wait here. Don't worry, I'll get you a fight in December. Just hang fire. What if it doesn't happen? What if it doesn't turn up? I mean, as a manager, can you really recommend that? So I'm all for people boxing, not for people waiting to box on the promise of big money. So that's the point I was trying to make.
Is it part of a respect thing as well? Look, you'll be pitching for Joe Joyce's side, of course, that's your position and role, but Joyce not being included in that mix, is that part of it too?
Not at all. I mean, look, Joe, I understand Joe's position in the world right now. Joe isn't AJ, Fury, Wilder or USYK. They are all above him, both in terms of, the belts they've won and their public profile. Joe is up and coming. Joe is getting there, and I think will surpass them. What I'm saying is, in order to do that, in the place you are, you need to fight those people.
Fair enough. Now, getting to the fight of the weekend, is Zhang is the opponent, and boxing fans will always complain about opponents, but this seems to be one that we understand Joyce's position, but a good fight nonetheless because of the position that he wants to get to. So it talks about the matchmaking choice when it came to picking Zhang as the opponent.
So we wanted to defend the belt. We wanted to defend the WBO interim belt. That's a good thing. We want to stay close to that sanctioning body. Joe is mandatory right now, but we want to push hard for that mandatory, and it helps when you defend a belt a number of times. So we had to go to the WBO top 15. You go through the usual names, people who are tied up, and then the next one down was Zhang. I thought, great fight. I spoke to Joe about it. He's like, yeah, whatever. Joe doesn't really care, just whoever you put in front of me. I spoke to Frank Warren about it, and we got it made. We did have other backups, but for me, that was the standout fight. I think, as was alluded to in the press conference, when you are in a mandatory position, you can just sit there and you can fight. You can look at the opponents of other top heavyweights who they fought when they were kind of waiting for a big fight. And because of Joe's age and his position, I don't think he could do that anyway. I don't think we're going to push his brand up if he's fighting people of a certain level, number one. But number two, he wants those fights now. He doesn't want to wait. He wants entertaining fights now for the fans. How's he going to build his brand and push himself up there and grow unless he has entertaining fights now for the fans? And this is going to be super entertaining.
You always said that, look, after a certain point, you kind of relax into the fights and you kind of see your fighter winning the fight. Do you feel the level of danger in the early rounds here or throughout the fight with Zhang in the opposite corner?
There's real danger in this fight, and that's not just, manufactured to hyper fight. There's real danger. This guy's knocked out pretty much everyone he's faced, other than a couple of opponents. Dropped Ergovic last time. Can happen at any point in the fight. I mean, I was looking at some CompuBox stats on Joyce last night. He throws the most punches in the heavyweight division. He throws the most jabs. He throws the most power punches. He lands the most, but he's the most hit. And we know that as a team. We're looking at strategies for that fight. But of course, when you have a guy in that position, that could happen. And so there is a real danger element here. I think when you're looking at winning fights, Joe's kind of kryptonite is possibly smaller guys, a Bryant Jennings when he fought him, an Usyk, those kind of slippery, smaller guys. And you see a guy like Zhang and think he's more like a Ustinov type character, but he's not. He's got the additional skills. He's an Olympic silver medalist. So it's a real challenging fight for Joe.
What do you feel is next in the offing? Is it likely that Joe will get the world title shot, or we seem to be hearing about moving parts right now that Joe might have to take another stay busy fight before he gets an opportunity?
Yeah, look, the circulation of the mandatories goes WBA, IBF, WBO. I understand USYK Dubois is being negotiated right now and will happen in July. Straight after that, the IBF will order Ergovic, Dubois, Ergovic, USYK, probably USYK. And then I'm forecasting probably at the end of the year, Joe's mandatory shot will come up. Now, if there's a Saudi fight, either that belt gets vacated and he becomes full champion, or he has to be paid to step aside or whatever. But absent that, you're looking at a Joe Joyce mandatory world title shot December, January. That leaves one fight, one fighting 3 times a year. That leaves one fight in the summer. And who do you fight in the summer? We want to fight Tyson Fury. Don't want to go begging for that fight. We want to fight Tyson Fury. Joe's around, Tyson's around. Tyson doesn't have a fight arranged. British fans, Wembley, fantastic fight. Probably the best heavyweight fight to make right now. But you can't force anyone to do anything. And if we can't make that, yeah, we're going to have to fight someone else. But there are names out there. There are interesting fights out there. But if he does take a fight that's not for a world title, it's going to be against someone that the fans want to see. He's not going to take a fight against a fringe European level opponent.
Frustrating in the sense, though, look, I know Frank obviously has both Joyce and Dubois under his own banner, so he's got to do the best for both fighters, but Joyce beat Dubois, but Dubois finds himself in the first position before Joyce.
Yeah, absolutely, and when you're talking to Joe's family and friends, not Joe, but when you're talking to his family and friends, it's like, how is this fair? Joe beat that guy gets the world title shot first. It's true, it's happened, it's the rotation system, but look at what happened to Joe after that fight. Joe is BT's main fighter. Joe has adverts made about him. Joe gets promoted very, very heavily. Joe's all over their social media. And Joe's stock has risen significantly since that fight. So, okay, Dubois got the world title shot first. Fair enough. It's just an idiosyncrasy of the system, I would say. If it was the WBO first, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But it's about what you do with the shot and what you do with the chance. And I think since the Joyce fight, I don't think Dubois really pushed on. I think since the Dubois fight, Joe's pushed on. So it's not just getting the chance, it's what happens when you get the chance. And when Joe gets that chance, I think he'll take it.
You said in this interview, look, you want the likes of Tyson Fury's. If you rewind back a couple of weeks, Anthony Joshua seemed open to a fight with Joe Joyce. This is a fight that Joe Joyce is also open to. I wonder, how likely is that fight to be made? And also, when it comes down to it, those who have sparred loads of rounds, hearing some people who've watched those spars, they say that Joyce was very cautious of taking on Anthony in those spars back then because Anthony maybe was a different fight back then. Do you feel that there's that element to it where Anthony might have the upper hand because of the past sparring?
No, not at all. It's a tremendous fight, brilliant fight for the British public. We're well up for it. He's clearly not up for it. I think the conversation ends there. He doesn't want this fight. He wants to fight in Saudi. Probably knows he gets beat. His team don't want the fight. No point talking about it.
Was that fight ever more than just talks? Has it ever been on the table?
I mean, people have spoken about it, but yeah, I mean, I think AJ spoke about it. He doesn't really. His team don't want it. They know he gets beat, so there's no point talking about it anymore.
And then the other side of the coin is Tyson Fury. Both been under the same banner, both win. You feel that Tyson Fury and Joe Joyce is a likelier fight to be made, an easier fight to be made?
Oh, 100%. That's a realistic prospect fight to be made. Tyson is the A side, the best heavyweight boxer in the world right now. He dictates terms. Got tons of respect for him. It's up to him whether the fight happens. Joe Joyce wants the fight. It's like over to Tyson Fury will be reasonable negotiations, etc., etc. But again, you've got to move on with your life. Tyson doesn't want the fight. Fair enough. Joe Joyce is going to become a world champion. We'll take another path. We'll push on. We're not going to beg these people for the fights to happen. When you have a fighter as good as Joe, I think all the top guys know the hardest fight for them is Joe Joyce. Alex Krasuk admitted it for USYK. I think Shelley Finkel said the same for Deontay Wilder. They talk about AJ's team probably think that, and Tyson's spoken about Joe being the man in the division. So they all know he's the hardest fight. So why are they going to voluntarily go there? It's difficult. So when you have a guy like Joe Joyce, whatever division you're in, have a dangerous boxer, you have to probably go the mandatory route. Generally, you have to force people to fight you. Once you've fought them, you become a world champion, you move on. So that may well be the path Joe Joyce has to take.
Is Deontay Wilder on the radar?
Absolutely, does. Terrific fight. Would love that fight. I know he's promotionally free at the moment. He may currently be cryogenically suspended for waiting for his Saudi fight. I don't know.
Well, I'll leave the final word with you. What can we expect to see this weekend? Joe Joyce versus Zhang. Good fight in prospect. What happens?
I think you're going to see fireworks. I think you're going to see fireworks relatively early on. You're going to see a lot of punches land. I think you're going to see Joe get his engine moving, and you'll really see him kick into gear probably after about 4 rounds, I'd say, and really turn that engine up. He's going to really sweat Zhang, make him move a lot, and I think we'll see a mid to late round stoppage.
Adam, pleasure speaking to you. Thanks for speaking to Seconds Out. Looking forward to the weekend. Cheers. Thank you, sir.